Mr. Montana, you there?
Yep. How are you? Hold on, let me get the camera on.
Okay.
There you go.
Hey, all right,
There
perfect.
Go.
Well, first, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. It'd be fun.
Okay, yeah, I'm Sam Vincent. We have this sports and American culture class, and there's about 60 kids here listening, and looking forward to asking you some questions and hearing from you.
Yep.
Well, how we've done this in the past, if you're willing, maybe take a minute or two to talk about your career, and then we'll just let the kids ask questions if that works.
Yep. No problem at all. You just say when.
We're good to go. Whenever you're ready, we're ready.
Okay. So I guess I'll start from where I grew up in a little town called Monongahela in Western Pennsylvania, just about 20 miles or so south of Pittsburgh. I played baseball, basketball, and football all the way through high school. I actually thought I was going to go to school for basketball, and until Notre Dame offered me a scholarship. Once they offered me a scholarship, I quit visiting schools and ended up going to Notre Dame. It was kind of up and down career there. Had an injury. When things finally turned around, started going my way, I got hurt. And then it took a little bit of time before I became a starter there. We ended up winning a national championship. And I was fortunate enough to be drafted by the San Francisco 49ers at the time, when their new head coach was coming in and looking to make a lot of changes, and named Bill Walsh. From there, we were 2-14. My first year, I wasn't a starter until my third year. And then we actually went to the Super Bowl that year. I started a few games in my second season, but most of it came in. I started the whole year in my third year. We went to the Super Bowl, beat the Bengals, and then we went on to win 3 more Super Bowls after that. I since retired, got into finance. So I can answer some more questions about that later if somebody wants. But basically got into the venture capital community and started some things that I can talk about.
All right, that sounds great. If you're good with it, I'm going to kind of turn it over to our high school students. That sounds good to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I promised the first question would go to the quarterback of our football team, David. He's in my class as well. So we're going to start with David, and then we'll move around.
All right. Sounds good.
Hey, Mr. Montana.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
All right. So I'm a little nervous. So for my first question, I wanted to ask you, what do you think the biggest difference is from when you played and won your Super Bowls in the 80s compared to now? Like, how much has the game changed, and like what's different?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. One is the speed of the big guys, like the linemen. The linebackers, most of them could always run pretty fast. But when you would take off out of the pocket, you would forget about the defensive linemen. They would never catch you. But now they're fast enough to catch you. I think that speed has changed. And then there's free release most of the time off the ball for these wide receivers. And as a quarterback, knowing you're going to get hit is a lot different when you're just in practice going on 7-on-7. That's kind of what it feels like for most of them. They don't get slammed anymore. You don't get compressed into the ground. And I think that's probably the biggest difference, because it makes the game just a little bit easier for those guys at that level.
Thank you.
Whoever has the next question.
Sure thing. Good luck to you.
All right. Here is Seth.
How's it going, Mr. Montana?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. I was just wondering, what was like the atmosphere like in the locker room after you won your first Super Bowl? Like, what were the
Um,
emotions?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fun in the locker room. My dad gets mad at me because it was I used to go and the media is not allowed into the training room. So I'd go in there and hide because I didn't eat a lot. So I always had like a cheeseburger in my locker when I go in there and eat it. So no one would bother me. And I was in there and my dad came in and my dad winning was kind of what you were supposed to do, you know, and there was all high expectations all the time when we started that season. And I was in there eating my cheeseburger. My dad came in and said, "Hey, congratulations." I'm going, "Yeah, thank you." And he said, "What's the matter?" I go, "I don't know. I really, I don't know. I didn't play the greatest game." He goes, "Would you shut up and be quiet and go have some fun? You just won a Super Bowl and you were the MVP." But, you know, it just wasn't, the game wasn't to my expectation of how I thought I still could have played in that game. But the locker room was insane. And Mr. DeBartolo put on a party outside of the hotel in a big old tent. Unfortunately, it became an autograph session, so most of the guys went back up and were, ordering room service. So it wasn't as fun till we got home.
Thank you.
You bet.
Hi, Mr. Montana. This is Olivia and Trinity, and we were wondering, have you
Hi,
ever
Lily.
gotten like stressed or panicked during a game, and how did you handle it?
There's always stress. I don't know if there was ever panic. Well, maybe the only panic I had is when the last injury I had in San Francisco, when I normally when you get the wind knocked out of you, you can breathe at least, out a little bit. I thought I was going to die on the field. I didn't react very well. I was trying to, it hurt so bad. I didn't know my hand was broken. So I was in a little bit of a panic when I sat up after I finally got my breath because my finger was stuck underneath like that. And I couldn't figure out where it was broken. And then I knew that we were in the championship game, we were winning, and we were about to go to another Super Bowl. And so I was a little disappointed. But in most cases, there's always a little bit of stress. There should be, right? It's always, just like taking a test. And the more you study and the better more prepared you are for it, the less stress there is. But there's always still that little butterfly feeling. And so I like to keep it like that. It makes me, kept me on edge and makes me play a little better. And so if I didn't have that, if a guy didn't have that on our team, I'd be worried about him because I knew he wasn't that, I knew it wasn't that important on how he played. Otherwise he would be worried a little bit.
Cool. Thank you.
That.
All right. We got a 49ers t-shirt here.
I'm not a 49ers fan.
Uh-oh.
All right. So obviously you played in 4 Super Bowls. You won all 4. And I was wondering, what is your favorite moment from any of those Super Bowls?
I think as a quarterback throwing the touchdown pass to John Taylor to win against the Bengals in the Super Bowl in the last few minutes, in the last seconds of the game. I did that in my backyard with my neighbor 1,000 times. He was the wide receiver, but I used to make him dive for it. JT was happy I just hit him in the chest. So, but I think that's probably the most special one. I found out in the next Super Bowl after that, it's not good to score a lot of points and get way ahead because they take you out of the game. And the Super Bowl is like the only game you don't really want to come out of. But I got pulled out in the first part of the fourth quarter, and we still had a lot of work we could have done.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Montana.
How you doing?
Good, how are you? I just wanted to ask, what was the best defense you ever faced?
I think the most difficult one for us were when the Giants had that, you had Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson and all those guys. Bill Parcells had them ready to play us, and were, they played us well all the time. Very physical, fast at the same time, and they just gave us fits most of the time. Between them and I say the Saints, but it's kind of funny. They had a similar type defense, but what was really crazy about it is I never lost in New Orleans. So I guess it wasn't as tough as I thought, but the Giants for sure.
All right, gonna move you over here to Aiden.
Hi, it's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I wanted to know how you prepared mentally and physically for a big game.
The biggest part for a quarterback in the majority of the time was the game is 75, 80% mental.
Mhm.
So yeah, I worked out and lifted a little bit of weights, but never a lot, never too heavy for me. I wanted to be more agile than get bigger.
Yeah.
And maybe it would have protected me a little more, but when I got to Kansas City, they made me start lifting weights, and I got caught from behind as I was going out of bounds, and guy clipped my foot, and I ended up tearing my hamstring. And the coach said, "I thought you were faster than that." I said, "Well, you keep making me lift weights and I keep getting slower. So maybe you can cut down the weights for me. I can get back as fast as I used to be." But that wasn't a big part of it. Mentally, it was every day, though. Our offense in San Francisco and in Kansas City, because it was offense coordinator came from San Francisco and was actually the coordinator and quarterback coach when we won our second Super Bowl. But it was every day. I spent more time off the field studying than I did on the field preparing.
Thank you.
You bet.
Hi, Mr. Montana. Which of your
Hi.
Super Bowl wins was your favorite?
They all were a little different. The first one I talked about already. The second one, basically we played a home game, and we played the Dolphins when Danny Marino was the quarterback, and he had set all kind of records. And I think that one was pretty special for us because everybody was talking about Danny and everybody forgot about us, but yet we had the number one defense in the league and nobody was talking about that. And our offense was like the number 3 offense. So we were still, pretty excited about that. The next one I came to, I threw a touchdown pass to win at the end of the game. Pretty special to do that. And then the fourth one, we just blew out Denver, and it's fun to do that because you get to throw the ball a bunch and score a bunch of touchdowns. But the only bad part was I got taken out of the game early. So, but I would, if I had to pick one, I'd probably say beating the Bengals with John Taylor, because the head coach at the time, Sam Weich, was my first quarterback coach when I got to San Francisco. So I've been a close friend through that.
Thank you.
That-
All right, someone can ask the second question too, if they want. All right, we're gonna go back to David, the quarterback here.
All right, I'm back.
all right.
All right, so when you played for the 49ers, you guys started the West Coast offense, right?
Yep.
So did you like that more than being under the center? Well, obviously you're still under the center, but more of what they used to do. Did you think that kind of changed the game? That was the first step.
Yeah, I think that Bill's offense, when I first got there, we didn't have a very good running game. And so basically the offense was built around throwing the ball, but you don't have to force it down the field all the time. Because if you don't like it, it looks covered on first down. He gave you like 2 more guys somewhere else that you can go through your progression 1, 2, 3. And he's going, if you hand the ball off on first down, you know how defenses go like, wow, you can't let him get 4 yards on first down with a run. But if you drop back to pass, you look them downfield and then you dump it off underneath, and they tackle the guy for 4 yards. The defense thinks they won, right? And unfortunately, it's the same 4 yards for them. And then the next thing you know, we keep moving the ball. We used it as part of the running game. And then because we also didn't have like deep threats. You know, we had one guy, Freddie Solomon, early, but it was in his latter years. Not until Jerry Rice and John Taylor came along were we able to mix in more throws down the field, but also still have that underneath stuff to protect the quarterback if you needed to get rid of the ball.
Thank you.
You bet.
Or Madison?
You know, just to finish answering that question too. I mean, if you watched, I don't know if you watched, if he watched the 49er game last week, that if you saw, that's what you saw Garoppolo doing. Instead of trying to force the ball down the field, he started dumping the ball to the guys underneath. And the next thing you know, that helps open up the deeper throws anyway. But it also keeps the drive alive. And that's what I think he did best last week in changing what he normally did.
All right, here you go, Nick. Hello, Mr. Montana. When did you had when you got drafted?
Uh-oh, you cut out there, sorry.
What went through your head when you got drafted?
I was happy I didn't go to Green Bay or Buffalo or somewhere cold. Also, I was coming to a team that was in transition, which I knew I'd have an opportunity to play eventually. There wasn't Steve DeBerg was here at quarterback, but they really hadn't, you know, he really wasn't planted as the starter. If I knew if I could play well enough, I'd eventually get a chance. So I was happy. I was just happy to be in the NFL. I mean,
Yeah.
getting that opportunity was big. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Montana,
Hey, how are you?
I wanted to ask who the best DB you played against was.
Oh, geez. You know, everybody, it's kind of scary because I really didn't worry about any defensive backs. I had Jerry Rice and John Taylor. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it like Dion, everybody likes Dion, but you know, Dion wasn't a guy who, you know, would come up and you could run a go route when you're running. We used to run sweeps at him because he would just take off and run with the wide receiver. Not very rare turn around, come back and make a tackle, but a very good defender. So I would probably put him at the top of the list. There was another guy in Washington called Darrell Green, but fast, little smaller guy, but also was, you know, played the run well. Probably those two.
Thank you.
You bet.
You forgot. Hold on. I gotta think of it. I can't forget.
I know you're a little nervous about that shirt you have on.
Yeah, I know. All right. What quarterback in today's game do you think most resembles you?
Oh my. Let me think about it here a second. I don't really try to compare myself to guys. But if I had to pick one, well, when he was playing well, would have been Russell Wilson, only because he ran okay. He wasn't a great runner, but he was, he can run. I'm not as big and as strong, probably about the same type of arm strength. Those other guys, I mean, and I get next to him. I run into him on the road or at the Super Bowl. I see some of those younger quarterbacks. Holy cow! I think I come up to their chin, and they're big. Them some big boys. And so that those guys, and they can run. The kid in Buffalo is playing pretty well.
Josh Allen.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
you bet.
I was gonna say Joe Burrow.
I'm back. I was
Yay.
wondering what went through your head whenever people started putting you in the conversation for greatest quarterback of all time.
I don't really look at it like that, because the funny thing is the game, like right now, the game is so different right now than when I played. And when I played, the game was so different about the same time frame before me. And if you go back and watch, there's a couple names you probably never heard of, a guy named Otto Graham and another guy named Sammy Baugh. Both of them were so far ahead of the game. And actually Otto, I think it was Otto, one of the two, I can't remember now off the top of my head, but one of the two won 11 championships before they start calling them Bulls. So it's kind of hard to compare those guys to even when I played, let alone to those guys to games being played today. So I think it's really hard to label someone like that. Even when they were saying that about myself, I would always say the same thing. I don't know how you can do that. Have fun watching the game like I do.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll come back. All right. We're gonna go with Grant here.
Montana.
How you doing?
What experience was better, winning a national championship or a Super Bowl?
Oh, wow. And they're probably pretty similar, especially at the time, right? Because it was the first championship I'd won was at Notre Dame, the national championship. So it felt pretty special to do that. And we actually beat a pretty good team in Texas. And, they had every trophy in college football on the team, the best kicker, the best punter, the best defensive lineman, the Heisman Trophy winner. And, no one expected us to be able to keep up with them. And we actually beat them pretty bad. And so that was pretty fun to win that first championship there. But yeah, the Super Bowls, they're fun. They were fun. And it was nice because you have opportunities to win them again, where in college, it's really tough sometimes to have a second chance to win one. And here, it's everybody says, well, once you won one, what do you care? I go, well, it's like a kid who's never had candy, right? And you give them candy, man, that's all that kid wants for the rest of the time. I want more candy. And that's what it's like winning the Super Bowl. And all you do is want to go back.
Sorry. While I'm taking it to another student, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Bill Walsh?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that the reason we clicked so well is I had a pretty good understanding quickly what he expect from the offense and the quarterback that was running it. And, it's one of those things where you don't make a lot of mistakes in it because it gives you so many options, and it's a fun offense to be involved in. And so because he was the head coach, it was really hard to have a really personal relationship until after he retired. And he retired way too soon. I mean, he handed a two-time Super Bowl team to the defensive coordinator. And, at that point in time, I would have never given that team up. And I know there was a lot of stress in his life, but wow, it was crazy. And we became even closer friends once he had retired. He has a crazy sense of humor too, really dry.
Yeah. All right, going back to Donovan here.
Who's your favorite player today to watch?
Um, well, there's a bunch of the young quarterbacks I like. I like watching. Obviously, Mahomes, he's he's a different breed right there. He's fun. Like I said, Josh Allen and the kid in the Chargers. Those guys are the most fun right now for me. Yeah, yeah. Another big human being. Those guys like that used to play defensive end. Now they're quarterbacks. That size. He's a big boy.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Here you go. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Mr. Montana. My
How you
name's
doing?
Charles.
Oh, that's I know that's an ugly shirt you got on there.
No, it ain't. Well, I've been a fan even though they've been bad, so I've been sticking with them for a while, so I'm used to that.
Well, his head coach, their head coach was in San Francisco with me, and then he was also in Kansas City with me before he got the job as with the Cowboys.
Okay. I had a quick question for you. Throughout your football career, who were like your top 3 go-to targets, whether it be a tight end or a wide receiver?
Probably Jerry Rice and then John Taylor were the top 2. You know, Dwight and then Dwight Clark. He was a different type of receiver than those 2 guys were. He was more of a big target that did the things inside by the linebackers and running the tougher routes to do. And then they just, those probably the top 3. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Do you know who this is?
No.
It's a defensive
I don't like
player.
those guys.
Dang.
I thought you were
Thank
a
you.
center.
All right. While I'm going to the next one, since you just spoke about Dwight Clark, can you kind of talk a little bit? Today in class, we watched the catch to go to the Super Bowl. Can you kind of talk about that play a little bit? And kind of before the play, after the play, what's going through your head?
Yeah, they just it was a thing about he was supposed to set a pick for the inside receiver that went a slot formation. So his job really is set a pick, and the guy comes off the pick, and I just throw it on a roll out and end up he catches it and falls in the end zone. And then Dwight we've never thrown the ball to Dwight until that play. We ran it all. We run it since our first day in training camp, all the way back in '79. So it became well known, but took him a little long. His job is to get to the back of the end zone, and because we've never done it, had thrown it to him. I think he was as surprised as I was that because the receiver on the inside, he fell down, and then he got up and was covered. So then I had to wait on Dwight. It just took him a little time to get back there and then he slides back towards the outside to me. And I'm supposed to throw the ball above his head, and if he misses, it goes out of bounds. When I let it go, I didn't know it was that high. I felt like it was like full arm's length above his head, but I didn't know he had to jump. But good thing he's got some hops.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right, I'm back again. Sorry.
All right.
All right, so have you watched the movie Rudy?
Yeah, I lived there. I lived it though.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you about. So I didn't know if you watched the movie. I just wanted to know, like, if you could kind of talk about that a little bit and tell me what that was like.
It makes for a good movie.
Yeah.
It's not all true. He did get a sack. He got a sack, but most of the other stuff, he got in because the last game at home of every year, they try to play a team where they can handle them so they can get all the seniors in the game. And so they rotate in and out all the seniors towards the end of the game. especially in walk-ons, when I was there, they never cut one walk-on. You walked onto the field, you stayed on the team no matter what. When we come out of the huddle, out of the tunnel for the last game, there's got to be 8 guys wearing the same number. So many guys, but they tried to get everybody in. He did. He did fight. I mean, he played hard, practiced hard, wasn't very big, and ended up getting a sack. But the jersey thing and the crowds calling his name, none of that.
Ah,
But,
thank you.
yeah, you bet.
What's your thoughts on Debo Samuel?
He's a beast. I mean, I think the best thing that happened to him now is with Christian McCaffrey coming on, because it takes a lot of the load off of him. Before it was just all
Yeah.
Debo. Now they're able to spread the ball around and even, he may not get as many touches, but he'll be healthier and fresher when he does get the ball in. But he reminds me of John Taylor. Jerry was more of a straight ahead kind of guy most of the time, but John make you miss. I mean, when he first got there, he would catch punts, and everybody would get up to watch, because the first guy, I don't care how close he is to him, he's not tackling, and most of the time he's not even going to touch him. And so Debo reminds me of him, thick kind of a guy, but fast. John Taylor is one of only 2 wide receivers in NFL history to go 90 plus yards for touchdowns in the same game. He did it twice. So, yeah, he reminds me of John a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Montana.
Hey.
I was wondering if you've ever gone against what a coach told you to do.
Yes, and I was fortunate to that we were playing in Philadelphia, and we had got off to a good start, and then everything fell apart. And then we came back, scored a bunch of touchdowns in the last quarter, and all we had to do to run out the clock was we ran a little route with our running back. Comes out, he goes to the first down marker, sits there, and I just throw him the ball, and the game would have been over. But instead of throwing the ball to him, you see my head coach go like this. I threw the ball on a go route to Jerry Rice, and luckily for me, it was a touchdown. And because when I got to the sideline, he said, "Boy, you're so lucky that was a touchdown." I said, "I know." But it's probably one of the only times.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hello, Mr. Montana.
How you doing?
So I have a question for you. If you played in this day of age on the 49ers, do you think you could lead them to a Super Bowl with their team right now?
Their team right now is playing pretty well. They're getting healthy. Their defense is, has been playing well, but they've had a few injuries. Yeah, they could. That's a Super Bowl caliber team that they got. So, yeah. So they've got, yeah.
All right, well, I'm walking to the next student. Can you kind of talk what the transition was like going from playing in San Francisco so long to then going to Kansas City?
The transition I thought was going to be a lot more difficult, but a couple things made it easier. The ownership was, top quality with the Hunts, with Lamar Hunt and his wife, and the fans were so receptive of the change coming, and also it helped because Paul Hackett, who was the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, was with us, as I said earlier, in San Francisco during our second Super Bowl. So our offense was a mix of Marty Schottenheimer's and Paul's. So that transition was a little bit easier than I thought.
All right, anybody got a
I think
question?
the hardest part of that was, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Montana.
Hey,
So, how was your
How you doing?
transition from college to NFL?
I'm sorry. Oh, from college? It was a little more difficult. But it was made easier because there wasn't a lot of pressure for me to play right away. I think a lot of the guys get drafted early. I wasn't drafted early. So I think that took a lot of pressure off of me and them having to play me so fast. Like a lot of these guys get today, they have to get in there and play right away. That's a lot of pressure coming out of college and learning a new offense and dealing with a whole bunch of new wide receivers and run backs.
Thank you.
When you got to the NFL, what was the first day of practice like?
Well, my roommate thought I was the kicker. He said when I first got there because I was so skinny. But it wasn't a great start there. It was just I was pretty nervous about being there, and learning a new offense was completely different of what I'd run in college. So I think it was once I got used to it, and once I understood the offensive system, it became a little bit easier as that year went on. But in the beginning, it was pretty difficult.
Thank you.
Anybody? All right.
Hi, Mr. Montana.
How you doing?
I was wondering, growing up or playing in college, was there ever a team in the NFL that you really just wanted to play for?
Well, when I left San Francisco, even before that, I grew up outside of Pittsburgh, and I tried to go back to Pittsburgh instead of Kansas City, but they said no. And but yeah, I would have played would love to be a Steeler fan at heart, so I would love to play for the Steelers.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Other kids have questions, but I'm trying to get some of these that were written down. On Monday, most of these guys are taking a trip to the Football Hall of Fame. So what does Canton and the Football Hall of Fame mean to you? How important is that?
Well, I never really thought about it when it first happened. I really, it was really kind of negative to me when it first came to my mind because it felt like the nails on your coffin. This is the last step right here. You get into the Hall of Fame. And then I started looking at it differently about, wow, this is just being a part of another great team and all the great players that were there and being a part of that. It's pretty special. And the guy who's running it right now is doing a tremendous job. He's revamping that whole place and in that process. And so, yeah, it's pretty special in your heart, when you get that call during the Super Bowl that, hey, you made it. So.
All right. Okay. All right. Jenna?
Hi, Mr. Montana.
Hey.
Did you have any say in picking your number 16?
No, I didn't. I walked into practice the first day, and the equipment manager handed me this number, handed me 16, and I said, "Well, can I get this?" And he goes, "No, sorry, pard, this is yours." That's how I got 16.
Okay.
I know.
Thank you.
They didn't have a choice.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
All right. We're running out of time. Anybody got a question here?
I do.
Okay. All right. Gonna go far.
I'm sorry, actually.
you're
It's me again, Mr. Montana. I just wanted to know when you realized that you could play at the next level.
Well, I think it took a little bit of time. Especially I got to start in one of the preseason games against Seattle, and I threw 2 interceptions. Both of them got run back for touchdowns. And on the second one, the guy actually had the nerve to run me over on the 1-yard line to get into the end zone. So it didn't get off to a good start. And Bill kind of took it slow with me and put me in good situations when I got in games that were almost embarrassing to the quarterback who was playing ahead of me. He would drive the team down, and he would put me in once we got inside the 25-yard line to run the offense. And so I got put there, and then all of a sudden, once you start having success and seeing, hey, you know, I think I can play here, things started to change fast. And that was probably halfway through my second year.
All right, our principal, Mr. DeMoss, is in here. He's going to ask you a question.
All righty.
Montana, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
You know, being a longtime Cincinnati Bengals fan, you created me a lot of heartache growing up as a kid. I always admired your abilities to play. I always considered you the GOAT, to be honest with you. What do you think? What do you think are some things that you see now with athletes that just kind of go, what are they doing? What are they thinking compared to when you played in your era?
There was a lot less. Our offense was pretty, I won't say imaginative, but you had a lot of flexibility as a wide receiver and as a quarterback. And like you'll see a zone defense and you'll see guys running through the zones where our guys, you know, we always had opportunities to. Wide receiver is told to don't look at the quarterback to make a decision. Once you look at the quarterback, you've told the quarterback, I made a decision whether I'm going to keep running or I'm going to stop. And once you do that, don't change it. And then the quarterback has to make the decision whether you made the right decision or not. And all our routes, like you run a hook, our hook could turn into a crossing route, could turn into an out, could turn into just be a hook, or could be a poke. And even a go, depending on the defense. And so you had to be up. The wide receivers had to have the same knowledge as the quarterback in reading what the coverage is, and they don't see a lot of that today.
Yeah. One more question: who was the guy in the locker room beside yourself that helped? Really, like he was the glue that held everybody together in your run as when you was on the Niners.
Oh, Ronnie Lott by far. Yeah, when Ronnie spoke, it was that old. You probably remember the old E.F. Hutton commercial when
right.
He explains. Everybody listens. That's Ronnie. Ronnie had control of that locker room for sure.
Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
You bet. My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, moving around here.
I'm back.
Uh-oh. Oh, put on another ugly jersey.
I know, but I had to. For this question, I had to. I was going to ask, if you were playing in today's league, what receiver would you want to play with you?
I honestly, there's a couple of them, but I would take Debo right off the bat. And only because he does so many things differently. I mean, I'm trying to remember the guy that was in Detroit, not in Detroit, but I can't remember him off the top of my head. There's like two big tall receivers that been around for a little bit that I would take too. But on the whole, a younger guy like Debo that can do more things for the offense, I would love to have a part of that. We didn't use John Taylor anywhere near enough as much as they were using Debo, because he could have done all that stuff.
Thank you.
But not that guy. He can only go straight ahead that you're wearing. Is that Randy
The best
Moss?
receiver in the league. Now it's Justin Jefferson.
Isn't that? Oh, okay. I thought it was a Randy Moss jersey.
No, I do think he's the best receiver of all time. I'm just saying. I agree. I have to say it.
The guy that Cooper Cup's doing, he's a good one himself, though.
Oh yeah, I think he's
For
best
the
receiver.
Rams. Yeah.
Okay, Donovan. I'll come back to you.
Since you grew up in Pittsburgh, who's your favorite Steelers player ever?
Oh boy. I would, Bradshaw, I like what Bradshaw did. It's changed, but he went through a tough time in Pittsburgh when it was early on in his career, but turned it around. I just have a lot of feeling for what he did, because the people in Pittsburgh were about to throw him in the river there for a while. Next thing you know, he wins 4 Super Bowls. So I was pretty happy when it happened, and pretty proud of him to be able to do that, because when the crowd turns on you, it's hard to get that back.
Thank you. Go Steelers.
That, yeah.
All right. So with like you and Tom Brady not being drafted crazy early in the draft, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think a lot of quarterbacks who were drafted later than the first round seem to like blow the expectations out of the water?
They put a lot of credence into size and strength, right? When you look at and guys' speed. Well, you saw Tom run the 40. I was faster than Tom by far, but I'm not running some of these other guys. And Tom wasn't the biggest or strongest or the strongest arm, the strength at the time. And I fit in the same category. It's like right now, I think it's 185 or 225 for whatever they put on your chest to do how many bench presses you can do. I might still be laying there with it on my chest if they've done that to me. But I think they look at they make linemen run a square. Like when have you ever seen a lineman run a square? Never. And they do these things and they think they're testing certain things, but in reality, the best thing you can do is turn on the video. And you might miss a few, but that tells you whether a guy can play or not, and not what you can do in shorts and t-shirt.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Was football always your
Hello.
favorite sport?
No, basketball's always been my favorite sport. I played basketball every day that I could. Every morning before we went to school, we had a pickup game in the gym. Every morning we played, except during basketball season. But every other day, we were in there. A bunch of guys would go in and we play full court basketball every day. And if I was out running around, it's hard to get a bunch of guys to play football all the time. So, and basketball was fun to play, and I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right, while we're getting to our last questions, we have guidance counselors here, and they want to know your opinion on West Virginia Westland, because they know your son went to West Virginia Westland.
Yeah, no, he enjoyed the time there. Unfortunately for him, when he got there, in some part of the early practice, he tore on his right foot, which is his plant foot. He tore the ligament underneath the ankle bone and up the back of the ankle bone. And we actually took him up to see the Steelers doctor, and they just said, he has to have surgery. And he didn't want to have surgery, so they made him a brace for his foot. And when he was at Notre Dame, he actually ran like 65 yards for a touchdown quarterback. And he's a big kid too. He's 6'5", 6'6", but he couldn't plant, he couldn't throw, he couldn't push off that foot. So it was unfortunate for both that happened while he was there, but no, he enjoyed the time there.
Okay, all right. Here is a counselor. All right.
So to piggyback on that, so like as a parent and as a former athlete and everything, when your son was facing that like obstacle and challenge in life, or whenever you faced obstacles and challenges, what kind of things did you encourage him or did you use to kind of overcome that?
Well, I think that's the one great thing about sports is it teaches you lessons about life all the time. And, you know, you have to learn how to deal with people of all nationalities, of all religions and everything. And so you're going to have a lot of adversity and you have to learn to fight through it and deal with it. And that was what got him to leave Notre Dame. I don't even want to get into that whole thing because what happened actually, even the athletic director apologized, which was ridiculous. I mean, it wasn't one thing. It was, and I didn't believe it until I asked one of his teammates, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's even worse than that." He hasn't told you, and he never said a word to us about it. I found out from his close friend, and so there were certain things then where you have to make an adjustment, and that's why he left Notre Dame because he loved being at Notre Dame. But he also wanted a chance to play, and so he moved on from there. And so, yeah, most of the time you have to let him fight through those tough issues, but this was something that was a little bit ridiculous.
So kind of push through when times are tough. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you have to do that. Yeah.
Oh, did you have anything else? Did you want to say something else?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have to run here pretty soon.
Okay. We could do one more question. One more.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry, you cut out.
When you played, who hit you the hardest?
Probably when I got hurt in San Francisco, my last game that when we were in the championship game, I had just dodged Lawrence. I got flushed out of the pocket, and Lawrence Taylor was chasing me, and I just dodged him, and I stepped backwards to throw to Jerry Rice, who was open, and the other defense, and Leonard Marshall was at a full sprint and hit me from behind as I backed up into it. But it really wasn't the hit as much as when he compressed me in the ground is where I got hurt. After that, you can take a hit and get up and go out for a play or two. But, when you get guys that size outweigh you by 120 to 150 pounds and they compress you in the ground, things are going to move around, break in your body. And that's what happened to me.
All right. So I'm going to ask one last question. And we've asked this with all the different guests. This was a kid who's now in college. If you were to give one or two pieces of life advice to a high school student, what would that be?
I think whatever you choose to do, there's a couple of things. One would be, make sure you prepare yourself all the time. I mean, it's like, I know school for even me back and then not my favorite thing to do. And unfortunately, I found out the hard way going to Notre Dame that I wasn't prepared to go to Notre Dame. It took me, I spent more time studying than anybody else just to catch up because I didn't do it in high school. And so that I would say the preparation side of it is probably the most important part. No matter what, you can pick and do whatever you want to do and believe. And the only person, there will be times when people don't believe in you, but the only person who should believe in you and never give up is you. Once you quit believing in yourself, it's over. And so I would say you got to believe in yourself and you got to prepare yourself every day. Coming to class every day, practicing football every day, whatever it is, not just on Sunday or not just on when there's going to be a test. It's coming in every day.
Well, we can't thank you enough for taking your time to do this. This has been really meaningful to all of us. So thank you so much.
You bet. My pleasure. And good luck to everybody. Nice talking to you.
All right. Thank you again.
Take care.
Thanks.
You bet. Take care. Bye.